What if stories and legends can offer us the key to unravelling the hottest political issues of the day? What would it mean if all the answers to today's burning questions were presented in easy-to-digest narratives and myths? Join us as we examine some of the most fascinating tales, some mythological, some historical, and apply their lessons to understanding the chaos of modern politics. I'm your host, Mark Angelides. Welcome to The Rabbit Hole, Politics and Prose, a LibertyNation.com production. How much are we truly expected to believe the words and promises that come from the mouths of politicians? While it would be a truly naive individual who expected every utterance to be fulfilled to completion, we operate in society on the assumption that promises and campaign pledges made will, at the very least, be attempted. But what if this assumption is wrong? What if, in fact, we are being lied to with every single word? This is not really just the jaded view of one who has perhaps read too many articles or watched far too much primetime news. It's a serious question that deserves a serious answer. Why would politicians knowingly lie about everything? It makes no sense, right? Surely the lies will be uncovered, and then the snake in the grass gets deselected or kicked out of office the next time around. This would be foolish. It's a method that all but guarantees a short and undistinguished career, unless they have another motivation for doing so. We're well into the campaign season right now, and the promises just keep getting bigger and more outlandish. Let's take Bernie Sanders' latest plan to end the homelessness crisis blighting many coastal states. His #Housing for All plan involves taxing the uber wealthy to the tune of $2.5 trillion, and then spending it on affordable new builds, rent control measures, etc. Now, while we can all get behind helping the homeless, but this plan is economically just plain ludicrous. The population of the United States is around 329 million individuals, with 127 million families and households. Essentially, Bernie's plan, worked out in dollars and cents, involves giving each family 20 grand. That's what it works out at in real terms. Who doesn't want an extra 20k? But would it end homelessness? The basic answer is no. Not if you combine it with an open border or at least porous border mentality. If you heard that there was a place you can go, well, they'll give you $1,000 a month, extra benefits if you need them, a free home, free education, free healthcare. What are you going to do? Well, you and I may not head over to the good old US of A, but there are probably around 2 billion unfortunates who would. Let's face it, this policy could never work in reality, and if he were elected, he would never be able to implement it. So why is Bernie promoting it? Despite what we may think, he's not an idiot, so there must be another reason. In 1749, an advertisement from a person known as the Bottle Conjurer appeared, in which this magician claimed that he could perform a number of seemingly impossible feats. He promised that during his show he would take a walking stick from any member of the audience and play it so any instrument sound would come out of it, all while singing in perfect key. Also that he could become any person, living or dead, that an audience member requested. And for his grand finale, this bold conjurer would place himself head to foot inside an ordinary quart jug, which could then be examined by the audience. The night of the show, in the New Theatre in Haymarket, London, the audience awaited this miracle man. The curtains were raised, and on the stage stood a table covered in green baize and a quart jug. Time passed, and the conjurer did not appear. The audience, that included many noble names, such as the Duke of Cumberland, who was brother to King George III, they continued to wait, but began to get restless. After waiting such a long time, tempers flared, and many felt that they had been duped. They began ransacking the theatre and tearing out all the fixtures, upending things and and generally rioting. The conjurer still did not appear. A short while after this theatre riot, the true story came out. John Montague, the second Duke of Montague, had actually set the whole elaborate sham up in order to win a wager. Along with other noblemen, he made a bet that he could advertise, and this is a quote, "the most impossible thing in the world. He would find fools enough in London to fill a playhouse who would think him earnest." End quote. Well, he found the right number of fools, and they indeed felt him earnest. He won his bet. In this case, the claims were never to be fulfilled. There was no intention of trying to achieve these impossible feats. In fact, it was the very impossibility that fooled the audience into thinking they would witness the impossible. Duke Montague had a very different goal, you see. He never intended to make good on his claims. It was the reaction and the participation of the gullible folk of London that was his true aim. Could it be possible that these modern-day politicos have no intention of actually doing what they promise? That all they are really after is your participation in order to enact some other plan? We must all be aware of the smooth transition politicians make from Capitol Hill to K Street. It's almost axiomatic that they get positions on boards, sinecures, high-paying speaking tours, and of course become an influencer in the K Street lobbying circuit. And perhaps this is part of the reason. Perhaps it's the whole reason. I'm reminded of a certain Mr. Nick Clegg. Now, Nick Clegg was the leader of the Liberal Democrats political party in the UK. In 2010, being the third largest party, and the two main parties failing to achieve a majority, he had the power to become a kingmaker in a coalition government. He chose to side with former Prime Minister David Cameron and took on the job as Deputy Prime Minister. During his campaign, before the coalition deal was struck, his main party promise, his pledge, was to abolish tuition fees for university students. A very popular move, you might understand. As soon as he got the number 2 job, though, he sided with the Conservative leader and pushed the school fees up to a princely £9,000, which may seem small potatoes in the US, but at this time, this was a party-killing move. But that's not the end of the story for Mr. Clegg. He knew he had sunk his political career, but warmer shores awaited him. After leaving Parliament, he almost immediately landed a job as Vice President for Global Affairs and Communications at Facebook. Quite what experience he has in the tech industry remains a mystery, along the lines of Hunter Biden and his lack of experience in the energy industry. You can see that sometimes winning the election, winning support from the people, is not really the end game at all. These people, these shady politicians, are using you to achieve goals that we, as the plain old citizenry, are not party to. They can tell us whatever lies they want, knowing full well that it doesn't really matter to them in the long run if they don't even try to produce the magic they so earnestly promised. And until we all realise that, we may as well just sit back, watch the empty quart jug, and keep waiting for the miracles that will never arrive. Thank you for listening to The Rabbit Hole, Politics and Prose, a LibertyNation.com production. Join us next episode, where we'll be talking more history, politics, legends and stories. Until next time, thanks for listening.